Hello? 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 This is the random noises portion of today's broadcast. Listen to this. Can you hear this? Is this visible? Audible on the mic? Listen to this. Can you hear that? Is that audible? Today is Monday. It's the Above It All program. This is 1783 for Monday. Today is Monday, February something, 2000 whatever. And we're going to be talking about news today. We're going to be talking about political all right, folks. Michael Pompeo doesn't get a lot of things, but on the list of things that he didn't get was the memo in regards to the Chinese spy balloon. Michael Pompeo is doing a media tour and writing op-eds like this one. Chinese spy balloon fiasco exposed Biden's astonishing weakness, and Xi will drive a truck right through it. Anyway, some stupid ass shit. But let's look at the real news, because this stuff is pretty cool. Chinese spy balloons under Trump not discovered until after Biden took office. So let's check out here. We have an update. There were more balloons, everybody. This is an incredible fucking update. This is news that you would have never even considered possible. You have motherfuckers like Mike Pompeo saying we gotta nuke China now and it's all Biden's fault or some shit. Who knows? But apparently there were 3 balloons under Donald Trump. 3 balloons. There were 3 motherfucking balloons. Okay, so that's crazy. I mean, I thought 1 balloon was bad enough. We were all sitting here like, my hair was on fire. I was thinking, should we leave the country? They had balloons coming from the skies like Red Dawn. You ever see Red Dawn? Not the one with the Drake and Josh guy, but the other one. The first one? You ever see Red Dawn? I'm thinking like, goddamn, the balloon's coming. First the balloon, then the fucking Chinese. They're going to fucking parachute down and they're going to steal our American ways of life. You know what I mean? And now we find out there were 3 balloons under Donald Trump. There were 3 balloons. So that's 4 balloons in recent history. That's 4 fucking balloons. Like, what the hell's going on here? But let's, circle back here. Let's see what Mike Pompeo has to say. So, again, so far, Joe Biden has seen 1 balloon, and he did shoot it down. Donald Trump saw 3 and didn't shoot any of them down. What does Mike Pompeo have to say? Now, keep in mind, Mike Pompeo knew about these balloons. He was the motherfucking Secretary of State for the United States of America. He knew about the balloons. When Mike Pompeo wrote this article, he knew about the balloons under Donald Trump. But let's read. One of President Ronald Reagan's greatest lessons to the world was that showing clear strength and strong resolve results in peace. Yeah, Ronald Reagan The guy who famously said, "We don't negotiate with terrorists," and then behind the scenes was negotiating with terrorists his entire administration. Yeah, that Ronald Reagan. Pretty good guy. In contrast, weakness, appeasement, and ambiguity can lead to war. And yet America's foreign policy establishment, bold embodied by the Biden administration, embraces weakness. This was on full display last week when the Chinese spy balloon flew over our airspace. I fear Biden's response will only continue to invite the Chinese aggression. So this article was written, by the way, today. Well, I mean, I don't know when it was written. It was published today. Right? This was published 8 hours ago as of this showtime. Right? So 8 hours ago, this guy's talking about how a balloon, one balloon, is basically going to destroy the whole country. And then in between then and now, we learned that Donald Trump, again, Secretary of State Pompeo, unless all three of these balloons are under the Tillerson Department of State, Mike Pompeo knew about these balloons. So I ask you this motherfucking question. Are these motherfuckers on drugs? Like crack cocaine, methamphetamine? Like, seriously, how are you going to write an op-ed about how balloons are causing World War III when you didn't do anything about 3 fucking balloons? Is that going to cause, like, World War IX? Like, what the fuck? The official said that the intelligence community is prepared to offer briefings to key Trump administration officials about the Chinese surveillance program, which the Biden administration believes had been deployed in countries across 5 continents over the last several years. After the Biden administration disclosed last week that a suspected Chinese spy balloon was hovering over Montana, the Pentagon said that similar balloon incidents had occurred during the Trump administration. In response, former Trump administration Defense Secretary Mark Esper told CNN on Friday he was surprised by the statement. Now, Mark Esper, I don't think he was there for a lot of that. I think Mark Esper kind of wheeled his way into the Defense Department in the last little bit of the Trump administration. But that, to me, is really funny. That's really good. I don't ever recall somebody coming into my office or reading anything that the Chinese had a surveillance balloon above the United States, he said. Former President Donald Trump also said on Truth Social this week that reports of Chinese balloons transiting the U.S. during his administration were fake disinformation. The Biden administration official now says the incidents were not disclosed until after the Trump administration had already left, but the official did not say how long those incidents were discovered or when. So, we got a situation where there's 4 balloons. 4 balloons. There's fucking 4 balloons. I mean, it's already over for America. Like, I mean, let's be honest here. America's over. We're good. Death by balloons, you know? Death by 1,000 balloons is what's happening in the United States. Now, again, I just want to this whole thing, as if the cartoon show couldn't get any more ridiculous, you know? So, the Republicans want to go to war with China over a balloon. Democrats are the centrists, so they shoot the balloon down, but they don't want to nuke China, right? And then we find out that the people that want to nuke China over a balloon kept 3 balloons secret for years. You know, if you would have told me a week ago that I'd be doing 3 days in a row of fucking balloon coverage, you would have told me this a week ago. 3 days in a row balloon coverage. I would have said you're crazy. But a week ago, I was none the wiser. I was but a naive little deer in the headlights 1 year ago. And then came the balloon, everybody. And then came the balloon. I don't even know if there's anything else left to read. Let's read more of this Mike Pompeo bullshit. In my new book, Never Give an Inch, I write about how America created peace and security through the creation of real deterrence. Now, keep in mind, it just came out that 3 balloons were found under this guy's administration. This is, of course, Mike Pompeo's administration. He was part of the Trump administration. When Russia's proxy forces seriously threatened American forces in Syria, we annihilated them. So a balloon, everybody, a balloon, is just like sending American forces to Syria. A balloon. What would 3 balloons be based on this math? Right? Like, we fully understood Putin's ambition to invade Ukraine, and we used every tool at our disposal to deter him. That included crippling sanctions. Now again, this is Mike Pompeo talking, guy who was Secretary of State when his boss, Donald Trump, was extorting the president of Ukraine. Now again, you can have whatever opinion you want, whatever you want on the Ukraine and Russia situation. But the idea that, like, Mike Pompeo is, like, the guy defending freedom and liberty of Ukraine, I mean, motherfucker let 3 goddamn balloons into the United States airspace, and we gotta trust to what he has to say on Ukraine? This guy was Secretary of State. Now again, Mark Esper, Secretary of Defense, also on the chopping block. But Secretary of State, when the Chinese, and I do say that very sincerely, the Chinese sent 3 balloons to the United States. Can you believe that this guy is willing to sit here and write this crap, given what he is responsible for? We don't have time to worry about Ukraine and Russia. We got to worry about these fucking balloons, for Christ's sake. This is serious shit. I know, at first I wasn't really on board, but now this is a grave threat to the U.S. right now. Balloons. Not because the balloons are going to blow us up or anything, not because the Chinese are going to fucking fall from the sky and take us over, but because right-wingers are going to see the balloons and freak the fuck out and nuke the whole planet. So now, I must say, this is a serious threat. If balloons can convince people in power to think about missiles and nuclear weapons and sending us to war with hyperpowers, what? Air Force General predicts war with China in 2025. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, that's one great headline right there, but that's a whole different thing. We drew these lines with respect to the Chinese Communist Party, too. When we found out it was operating the largest spy ring in the history of our country. The largest spy ring, like it's a movie. My God. We shut it down. Fearing the CCP's retaliation, administrations prior to ours had sat idle, choosing to appease the CCP. Now again, since this article has come out, we have discovered Mike Pompeo was in office at the Secretary of State Department as Secretary of State. He was in office during 3 Chinese spy balloons. 3. Not 1. 1 is called, like, 1, we got to send the nukes, launch the nukes at 1. What happens at 3 balloons? I guess we never found out because they didn't tell us. They covered it up. Very interesting. Anyway, the CCP uses TikTok as a tool of influence and propaganda inside the... Okay, that's not what the CCP uses TikTok for, right? This is not the argument. Like, when people advocate to ban TikTok, the argument is not that TikTok is propaganda. The argument is that TikTok harvests user data, which can be a security breach because China might know how everyone under the age of 20 likes to watch, like if they like to watch cat videos or dog videos, right? That's the argument to ban TikTok. I have never heard or seen anyone else say that TikTok is a tool of propaganda. I've never heard that before. So unless this is a new one that just dropped, Mike Pompeo is getting into the creative writing section of his fucking article here. TikTok is a propaganda device? That's new information. I would love to hear more about this. Instead of banning it, as we attempted to do under the Trump administration, Biden invites TikTok influencers to the White House. Okay, so this whole thing is bizarre. Okay. Biden influences TikTok influencers to the White House, right? Are they Chinese plants? Like, okay, let's figure this out. We gotta game this one out. This is some crazy shit. I came in here for the fucking spy balloon, and now here we are. But, okay. So TikTok is owned by China. And China, what does that have to do with a TikTok user being invited to the White House? Is that user a Chinese spy? Is it like a sleeper cell that they downloaded TikTok and then they were they were activated, you know? Like, or was it like Chinese propaganda is like they're manipulating the algorithm to raise certain people to become TikTok stars that they can, like, I'm trying to figure this one out, because I thought TikTok was just harvesting user data, which that's bad, right? I don't like when any tech company does that. But now it's much more nefarious. Now Mike Pompeo is suggesting that China is somehow able to manipulate who becomes popular on TikTok, and that they're using that to surveil the country. Now, this is some breaking ass news, okay? What? But again, these guys are fucking insane. I don't know what to tell you. And then you got this fucking guy. Like, look at what's going on with this guy's outfit. Jesus. But anyway, what if next week it is 10 spy balloons instead of just one? That's a good. I'm glad Mike Pompeo asked this question, because we found out that under his administration, there were 3 Chinese spy balloons. So I would ask this question. What happens if there's 3 spy balloons instead of just one? I don't know. Maybe Mike Pompeo has an answer. But, I mean, that's some crazy stuff. I don't know. This is the news, folks. I'm doing a news show. This is a news show. This is what we do. We talk about the news here. And today in the news, we're talking about TikTok and spy balloons. Yeah, I know. No. This isn't a cartoon, I promise. It's a new show. Ooh. Thought I had a scarf? What do you mean you thought I had a scarf, motherfucker? These pens are just like stuck in the knots of my hair. No scarves. Yo, who is this fucking dipshit cocksucker coming in here saying Ukraine is a NATO country? Like, what the fuck? Yeah, I mean, this is not. I'm just gonna put this guy in the corner. Time out, mister. Time out. Go sit in the corner. Actually, go stand. Go stand in the corner. What the fuck? Goddamn OTAN? Yeah. I got pens in my hair. Who does this shit? I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. But anyway, I got some coffee. I'm gonna drink coffee. Just got hair in my face. right, doing a program today. So we're talking about balloons. What else? What else are we talking about? Okay, let's talk about this one. So we often debate in the United States of America, how many genders are there, right? Well, a lot of people suggest that there are 2 genders, and today I would like to show you the 2 genders of America. Biden or bust. Democratic insiders are all in for Biden 2024. Biden 2024? Most Democrats say no thank you. AP Norc poll. I love this shit, man. This is like funny as fuck. Like, so, all right, most Democrats are like, yeah, we don't really want this guy, right? That's page 1. Page 2, everyone on the inside, all in on Biden. Doesn't that remind you of a certain other primary that happened? Maybe another primary? Maybe. So this article is from yesterday. This article is from today. So let's read this one first. President Joe Biden had one question for Democratic power brokers at a campaign-style rally Friday. Are you with me? The roars of approval and chants of 4 more years at the Democratic National Committee's winter meeting indicated they were all in for Biden 2024. Despite lackluster approval ratings, an ongoing classified document scandal, and polls showing most voters would like the 80-year-old to retire, Biden faces 0 meaningful opposition to his leadership. Now, I love this word here, meaningful. Now, I agree that we can talk about, like, it is technically true. Marianne Williamson is, like, trying to do this, like, presidential thing going on, right? I don't know if anyone's paid attention to that. I've kind of ignored it for now. But it is true that her doing this exploratory, maybe I'm going to run, trying to go on some shows and, you know, get on the TV to talk about it. It is true that that challenge is not meaningful. But, like, I mean, I don't know. You could mention it. I mean, I think it's interesting. To be honest. I mean, honestly. I mean, I would vote for anybody other than Joe Biden. I'll tell you this right now. If there is a primary ballot in front of me for the Democrats, I will write someone in if I need to. I am not voting for Joe Biden in the primary. It's not going to happen. If it needs to be Marianne Williamson, got a lot of problems with her. I don't think she's the greatest candidate or person in the world or messenger. But you know what? I'll vote for that bitch over Joe Biden any day of the week. Of course, when I say bitch, I mean it in a very, very loving way. Anyway, let's keep going. 0 meaningful opposition to his leadership in the Democratic Party and has an unobstructed path to renomination next year, even before he has officially declared his intention to seek it. During the 3-day gathering of elected officials, activists, union leaders, and operatives. I love operatives. And donors, of course. You gotta have those. This weekend, serious dissent or discontentment with Biden was almost impossible to find, even after hours at the hotel bar, where alcohol and opinions flowed freely. If he wants to run, I think everybody will be 100% unified behind him. I mean, maybe 99.99999, but we're the most unified we've been in a very long time, said John Bauman, a California DNC member and president of a PAC that promotes Social Security. Eventually, the party's going to have to move to younger people being in more control, and that's natural, but this doesn't feel like the moment. It's never the moment yet. You know, they always acknowledge, yeah, we should do this, but it's not time now. 4 years later, it's not time. 4 years later. I wait till next year. 4 years later. Maybe next time. And then the 4 years. And then pretend I just keep doing that for another 3 minutes. And we're back. All right. There was no sign of younger Democratic aspirants making behind-the-scenes moves to challenge Biden, nor much evidence of the kind of ideological strife that has cleaved the party in so many recent years. Blah, blah, blah. So anyway, now let's move to this poll, because I think this is the more interesting information. What do people actually think about this? You know, people. Not soulless fucking goddamn cocksucker suit-wearing fucking morons. Right? Oh, the DNC. Like, go fuck yourself, you fucking prick. Anyway, what do normal people have to think about this? A majority of Democrats now think one term is plenty for President Joe Biden, despite his insistence that he plans to seek for re-election in 2024. That's according to a new poll from the Associated Press NORC Center for Public Affairs research that shows just 37% of Democrats say they want him to seek a second term. Down from 52% in the weeks before last year's midterm elections. While Biden has trumpeted his legislative victories and ability to govern, the poll suggests relatively few U.S. adults give him higher marks on either. Follow-up interviews with poll respondents suggest that many believe the 80-year-old's age is a liability, with people focused on his coughing, his gait, his gaffes, and his possibility that the world's most stressful job would better be suited for someone younger. I honestly think that he'd be too old, said Sarah Overman, 37, a Democrat who works in education in Raleigh, North Carolina. We could use someone younger in office. As the president gives a State of the Union. Oh, is that really tomorrow? Fuck. Let me look this up. I forgot the State of the Union was happening. I always ignore all those articles because they're a waste of time. When is that shit? 9 p.m. February 7th. Should I do a stream? Should I do a live stream? Fuck, I did it last year. What's the fucking point? I mean, then I just sit there and do drugs and then farm the watch time. I'll do it if someone pays me. How about this fucking shit? Someone pays me to do it, I'll do it. Otherwise, what's the point? I just sit there and go while Joe Biden's going America and goddamn balloons, and I'm just going I'll do it if you pay me. But State of the Union anyway. Let's keep going. All right, so here we have the poll. In October of 2022, half of Democrats wanted Biden not to run. Or rather, well, yeah, but it was split 50-50. Now 37% want him to run. So 37% say, run, Joe. Everyone else, please, for the love of God. Overall, 41% approve of how Biden is handling his job as president. Who the fuck could possibly approve of that, by the way? How many, these are some, really, what has Biden done as president to approve of? What is, he has to do something to approve of. What has he done? He gave you a fucking check 2 years ago? That's it? And you're still giving him credit for that? I mean, come on, man. Oh, the infrastructure bill. They gave a bunch of money to corporations. Oh, yeah. What does Joe Biden do? Seriously, 41% approve how he's handling his job as president. Now, I know that the only reason they vote that they do approve is because it's their team. Right? It's their team. That's why. I get it. They can't actually think of anything that he's done, but they just say, well, he's my guy. He's my... The decline among Democrats saying Biden should run again for president appears concentrated among younger people. Among Democrats age 45 and over, 49% say Biden should run for re-election, nearly as many as the 58% who said that in October. But among those under age 45, 23% now say he should run for re-election, after 45 said that before the midterm. So, I mean, that's that. I mean, I don't even know what to tell you. That is like, this guy is gonzo. But, or not. Because, guess what? As I said before, look at these guys. All the people that are at the cocktail parties, sitting in their 5-star restaurant, hotel bars, you know, they are all in. So, 20% of young people, and what do these fucking boomer bitches constantly say every election? Democrats are going to be the party of the young people. The young people. The young people are going to save us. That's what they say. The young people. The young people gonna bring. That's what they constantly fucking tell us about how great the young people are. 20% of young people want Joe Biden to run for president again. Fuck them. Until next time, right? 2024 or 2028. Yeah, there you go. Hillary Clinton will come back. Well, is this what you meant by young? Jesus, fuck. Oh. God damn. It's goddamn hell on earth. You know, I gotta be honest with y'all. It is hell on earth. This is hell on earth. This is hell on earth. Hell on earth. Oh, Christ. Mila's having brunch right now. Of course. So while we're talking about President Joseph Robinette II, it's also important to mention, right? So again, 20% of people under the age of 45, Democrats under the age of 45, that's an important distinction. 20% of Democrats, 1 in 5, want Joe Biden to run for president again. But why is that? Well, maybe it's because this guy's a fucking loser. Has anyone thought about that? Is that possible? Can we have that open, honest, maybe, I don't know, we could say frank conversation? I don't know who Frank is, but I'd vote for Frank over Joe Biden any day because Joe Biden's fucking trash. So anyway, check this out. Americans are not feeling the impact of Biden's agenda, post-ABC poll finds. More than 6 of 10 say the president has not accomplished much, despite the passage of numerous bills. I love this idea, like, the Washington Post is like, well, he did pass bills. Oh, really? He passed bills. That's not relevant to the question. The question is, do you feel the impact of Joe Biden and his presidential agenda? Him passing bills is irrelevant. It's what's in the bill, motherfucker. But again, mainstream media is fucking garbage. 2 years into a presidency that the White House casts as the most effective in modern history. What does that mean, the most effective? You want to know the most effective president, the most effective administration in modern history? George W. Bush. They got a lot of shit done. You want to talk about effectiveness, right? It's not a value judgment, you know, could be good or bad. They were effective. The most effective administration, objectively, George W. Bush. You're telling me Joe Biden is a more effective administration than George W. Bush? I mean, are you serious? And also, what does that mean, modern history? right? Like before modern meant like Eisenhower, like anything after World War II, really, like, you know? But what does modern mean now? I think modern is anything after 9/11. That's going to be my definition of modern. Because we've been saying modern, you know, for a long time to always mean the current era, but no one ever defines what the current era is. So, I don't know, man. I'm going to say post 9/11 modern presidents. And of that amount, George W. Bush, way more effective than Joe Biden. But anyway, I'm getting caught in a tangent here. I'm getting caught in a goddamn spider's web. So let's go back here. President Biden is set to deliver a State of the Union address Tuesday to a skeptical country, with a majority of Americans saying they do not believe he has achieved much since taking office. The poll finds that 62% of Americans think Biden has accomplished not very much, or little to nothing, during his presidency. I mean, can we talk about like phrases that have no meanings? Like, can we figure out the difference between not very much or little to nothing? Like, what do these terms mean? Like, why can't we just have, like, rate Biden's presidency on a 1 to 5 scale? Why do we have this fucking shit like not very much or little to nothing? Like, can't we do better? Like, 1 being terrible, 5 being great. Tell us what you think he's doing right now. 2, 3, maybe 4, man. What the fuck does not very much mean? But okay, whatever. During his presidency, well, 36% say he has accomplished a great deal or a good amount. Now, I mean, these people are living in La La Land, right? Like, we could have an argument if he has done nothing or slightly more than nothing. But the idea that he's done a great deal, I mean, like what? 36%? Like, are you dumb? Are you stupid? Are you a dumb person? Like, imagine, like, what, like, I would love to ask them a part 2 to that question. Oh, you think Joe Biden's done a great deal? Like, what? You know, there's a balloon he shot down the balloon, and then there's, you know, American Rescue Plan or something, bipartisan, bro. He's done a great deal? Are you kidding me? That's funny. The dynamic arguably raises the stakes of Biden's primetime speech on Tuesday. The president is expected to use the platform to tout his accomplishments and remind voters that many of the laws he signed during the first half of his term are now just being implemented. You know what's funny about that? Is that that's not true. That's... Right, okay, so we signed the American Rescue Plan, which was the only good bill. That was it. The only good thing that became law, American Rescue Plan. And now, again, it's not great. There's a lot of really awful shit in it. But that, I can say, is good. It was good. Everything else is bad or garbage, okay? But the American Rescue Plan is and was good. And I use the word was because the main things about it that was good, the child tax credit, gone. It's now expired. And the relief check, gone. Everyone's out of that money already, right? And also, it was probably a net negative because, you know, hey, again, we know for a fact stimulus checks did not move the needle on inflation, but corporations weaponized the fact that people got money and made up a bunch of fucking bullshit and then pretended like the stimulus checks caused inflation so that they could make a shitload of money. So again, statistically speaking, factually speaking, economically speaking, you know, they didn't cause inflation, but an A to B to C scenario is not that different from an A to C scenario. So let's just, you know, that's the situation. So the only good parts about that legislation did take place immediately. The checks went out immediately. And the child tax credit lasted monthly, right, for the first year. So the only good parts did take place immediately. So the idea like, oh, well, when we pass something, you actually got to wait 17 years for it. When Americans just had child tax credit, right? But, like, I don't need, like, what is, like, okay, so, all right, great. So we're waiting on the great legislation you signed to take effect. So what's gonna take effect? What's the timeline? Right? You know, right? You're gonna be telling us, oh, no, just wait. Just wait. You gotta wait a little bit. All right, great. How long? You know? When will we start to get any of these benefits? Is it gonna be next week? Next year? 2095? Like, when? You just gotta wait. There's so much going on here. I mean, there's a lot of bullshit, but I mean, fuck. It's a message he has pushed since before the midterm elections, when his party's better-than-expected performance convinced many aides that, despite his low approval ratings, Americans largely support his agenda. Like, this is the thing that Democrats, right? They think that because Republicans are so repulsive that means people like them. Now, do they think that, or are they just pretending to say that because it's easier to pretend? Who knows? We don't know the difference, right? We don't know which direction, right? But the idea that Americans, like, now, data, facts, what happened? The Democrats lost an election. And the Democrats' takeaway is like, wow, people really like our lukewarm neoliberalism. Wow. Fact. Democrats lose an election. Result. Democrats think that they're great. What? Like, this is the world that we live in. Is fucking nonsense. Like, these people are fucking dumb shit for brains. Jesus fucking Christ. Biden has said one of his main goals for the year is to make sure Americans feel the impact of the laws he signed during the first 2 years in office, including a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, legislation aimed at combating climate change, $52 billion effort to boost domestic manufacturing, and a cap on the price of insulin for seniors. Yeah, this shit, no one's going to care about it. I'm going to be honest. The only decent thing in there is insulin, and it should be not just for seniors. It should be fucking for him. But, I mean, like, these people they're literally, I don't even know what to say. Like, they've got a 24/7 fart sniffing machine, like, set up or something. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, I'm serious. Quote, it's one thing to have it pass at all. Now we have to make sure we're on it every single day. Not a joke, Biden said in a Jan 26 speech to the economy, implementing it so people can see what we've delivered and give it to them directly. What is he even talking about? This guy, why is this even quoted in the paper? Overall, the polls findings are not reassuring for either party. On the looming fight over the debt limit, most Americans are closer to Biden's position than the GOPs, and most dismiss Republican plans to investigate the government's weaponization as political. Blah, blah, blah. So this is just a bunch of garbage, just talking about other people. But this is Kevin McCarthy's approval rating, not so good either. And what is this? Okay. Most Americans think Biden has not created more jobs, improved roads and bridges, or made electric cars more affordable. So the question is, and I know it's hard to read, do you think Biden has or has not made progress in each of the following areas? So, made progress. What does make progress? I don't know. Who the fuck knows what that means? Creating more good jobs in your community, 34%. How, in what world has he made progress on that? Like, I'm just curious. Like, to anyone answering the question with, yeah, I think he's made progress. What's the progress? What's a good job? Can we define good job and then can we define progress? Like, oh, well, you know, on down the block from me, somebody set up a local deli market and now they're cutting meats and cheese and they're serving the community. I mean, did Biden do that? Like, okay, what are these good jobs that Biden has, quote, made progress on? Like, fuck. Improving roads and bridges in your community, 32%. I mean, like, what is the example? Biden went into office and all of a sudden the potholes are fixed. Like, I mean, maybe they could be, but I'd need to see some evidence for that. Lowering prescription drug costs. I mean, Again, did he make progress in the sense where it's not accelerating in the wrong direction? Sure. Other than that, I mean, well, whatever. Making electric vehicles more affordable. 26%. Like, he's done nothing on any of this shit, but there's going to be people that defend him no matter what. I mean, I don't even know what the fuck. Anyway, whatever. You can read the rest of this, but again, it's the La La Land. We're in the Twilight Zone here. Like, Joe Biden is like a horrible president, but like, you've got the Democrats that are insisting that he's great. But then you've got Republicans that are insisting that he's going to start a nuclear war, and he's literally a communist, but also he hates communists, but he's also a communist, and he's also a spy from China, but he also hates China, but he's also a communist, and he's going to bring socialism to America, and he's going to start World War V. Right? So it's like, and then everyone else is just like, huh? What? So option A, Joe Biden is the best president ever, and he's great. Option B, Joe Biden's going to start World War III, and he's a communist, and he's non-binary. And then we're in the middle. I mean, is this even the middle? We're just hanging out of bounds. We're just like watching through the fence, the chain link fence, watching the freaks fight, and we're just like, what the fuck? Right? Like, that's it. We get two options, and that's it. We don't get a third option. There's third way, maybe? Does anyone have room for a third way? No? Okay. Anyway. Whatever. Oh, Christ. God damn, man. This country's probably going to vote for a fucking Republican next cycle. Because we got some dumb motherfuckers here. I mean, I don't know, man. I hope not. All right. So, on my show, we talk a lot about headlines, media literacy, critical thinking. And I got a headline. You know, this is one of those headlines that you read this and you're just like, what? And I'm going to show it to you in a second, but check this out, okay? This is from CNN. The virus threat is easing, but U.S. hospitals are still as full as ever. So the threat is easing, but hospitals are nearly at capacity. So the threat going down, hospital capacity going up. And those are happening simultaneously. Like, but okay, all right, sure, all right, I'm ready. I put my seatbelt on, I'm ready for this, okay. At a Massachusetts General Hospital in downtown Boston, the hallways of the emergency department are lined with dozens of patients waiting to get a room upstairs. Quote, imagine spending days and nights in the hallway under fluorescent lights to the ER. In the ER next to a trauma bay while patients have heart failure, kidney failure, or pneumonia, said Dr. Melissa Madison, a physician-in-chief of hospital medicine at Mass General, which is a founding member of Mass General Brigham. So when I hear that quote, I'm hearing good news. The threat going down. Oh, great. People in the hallways? Awesome. The threat must clearly be going in the eye. Like usually, right? Like usually these kinds of articles that have this kind of headline, they usually hide the ball. But like this one is like, they're not even bothering. It's just like, yeah, there's no big deal. By the way, let's tell you how our hospitals are fucked. But no big deal, yo. Quote, everybody's doing their best. First of all, I don't believe that for a second. But where do they go to the bathroom? How do they take a shower if they want to clean up? How do they eat? There's no privacy. It's just awful. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. As of Friday, about 87% of all available hospital beds in the state are in use, and capacity strains have eased little despite a dramatic decrease in the number of people being treated for respiratory illness. Okay, so wait a second. So 87% of available hospital beds. Now again, it's not just about the beds, right? You can have a bed, but no nurse. So what are the staffing levels here? Are we having staffing shortages? Because most hospitals in America are having staffing shortages. But let's keep going. Every day, our emergency room has a backlog of anywhere between 25 and 100 patients waiting for a bed upstairs. So if today that number was 25 and 2 weeks ago it was 100, yes, that's better, but there's still a long line, Madison said. I love how, like, this quote is like, yeah, I mean, it's technically better. And then CNN is like, well, you heard it here. The threat is easing. What? What? Maybe the patients aren't piled like sardines in the ER as much when you only have 35 patients waiting compared to 75, but it's still not great. The media is like, oh yeah, don't worry about COVID. Don't worry about COVID, everybody. Don't worry. Look, they said 87% of the hospital beds are full. That leaves 13% that are left. Hey, you get COVID, you want to go to the hospital. Hey, don't worry about it. The threat is easing. But again, we live in shithole USA, where up is down and down is up, my friends. Nationwide emergency department visits for the respiratory viruses are a third of what they were a month ago. Federal data shows flu hospitalizations are nearly as low as they'd been all season. Now again, the low for the seasonal low is much higher than any like seasonal high that we've had in the last like 20 years, you know. Before 2020, right? The seasonal lows that we have are basically like all-time high levels. Flu hospitalizations are nearly as low as they've been all season. Since October, hospitalizations for COVID-19, the last of the three viruses to trend down, have been falling for the past few weeks, and just 4% of hospital beds nationwide are being used by COVID-19 patients. That's a dramatic shift from January 2022, when COVID-19 patients were filling up most hospital beds amid the early Omicron surge, but hospitals are still about as full as they've ever been during the pandemic. So again, right, what's happening here? Well, people are still getting COVID. And all of a sudden, so what do we know about COVID? It destroys your immune system. When your immune system is destroyed, it's worse at fighting other viruses. So you can get infected by other viruses such as influenza, RSV, and that infection will be worse, right? So, okay. So everyone's had COVID. Everyone's immune systems are destroyed. All of a sudden, 87% of hospital beds are full of people with respiratory viruses. Huh. Wow. That's interesting. Whoa. I mean, holy shit. Not to mention, what is it counted for, by the way, when they say 4% of hospital beds are being used for COVID-19 patients? Like, does that mean only 4% of the hospital beds are people that have COVID? As in, 96% of them test negative for COVID? Or does that mean that only 4% of them are specifically having issues directly related to COVID versus having COVID and that leaving the gates open for RSV and then being treated for RSV symptoms because the COVID left the door open, essentially, right? Like, I would like more information on that. Because if 87% of the beds are full, right, in very heavily populated areas like Boston, that leads me to believe that it's not the fact that 4% of the people test positive and 96% test negative. I doubt that. It's just that what they count as COVID-19 patients is, again, with COVID versus of COVID. This is a big distinction. The media doesn't really know how to communicate anything at all when it comes to this distinction. It's been a continuing trend over the last decade or so that there's been this greater acuity of patients inside the hospitals, said Nancy Foster, Vice President of the Quality and Patient Safety with the American Hospital Association. So what you see is this incredibly sick group of people inside the hospitals. If you're a doctor or a nurse or respiratory therapist or pharmacist or any other health professional working inside the hospital, that means it's always a difficult puzzle you're trying to solve to help that patient out. So more people are getting more sick from more different viruses. At Mass General, an emergency department border program, border with an A for the audio listeners out there, which outlines plans for how to cover patients who were waiting for a bed, was well established years before the pandemic hit, Madison said. Hospitals started to report capacity data to the federal government in 2020 under a pandemic requirement. But so there's no federal data to compare to pre-pandemic years. But Madison was quick to say her hospital is 99% full now, like it was in 2019, and years before the pandemic. Still, she says, how long is the waiting list and who's on that waiting list? That's not something that's reflected in the metric. Because again, you can't really poll this. You can't really create statistics out of this kind of stuff. It's really, again, very hard to discern, what patients have what, again, without going through privacy laws, of course. What patients have what are their biggest symptoms, what are the biggest complications, who is where, how is this affect? You can't really create data like that. So what we do have is COVID is the third leading cause of death in this country. And number 1 and number 2 are like groups, right? Categories, right? So cancer, what is cancer? Cancer is like 9 trillion different fucking things. So cancer kills more people than COVID. But also, what is COVID? COVID is 9 trillion different things too, right? So, but again, it's the third leading cause of death in this country, and it's gunning for that number 1 spot. And again, the other big effect from COVID that we know is it destroys your immune system, very similar to HIV and AIDS, right? So if your immune system is destroyed, then yeah, it makes perfect sense that we would have a situation where not many people are dying in the hospital of COVID, but they're dying of RSV, or they're dying of influenza, or some other disease or virus or illness that really only was able to get a foothold in their body because they had COVID many times. But again, we really need to stop with these distinctions. Like, all sickness is important, and we need to treat all sickness, right? The idea that we need to only care about sickness that's not COVID, or the idea that we only need to care about COVID and not other sickness, is ridiculous. Again, 40,000 people a year on average died from the flu. From the flu! 20,000 a year sometimes, 30,000 sometimes, some years, 50,000, right? And we did nothing about it. So now we're basically going through that situation, except the numbers are multiplied by 10. And it's not good for anybody. And again, this is a banger headline. Virus threat easing, but U.S. hospitals are still as full as ever. Interesting stuff. Really fascinating stuff, but whatever. Yo, we got this fucking fucked up freak in the chat, and I'm just like, I'm trying to discern what drugs they're on. So if anyone has any guesses on what this guy's drug cocktail is right now, I'd love to know. Is that some crazy ass shit? Yeah, I guess I scared fucking Saul, the Biden superfan, away. That's my problem, is I don't mind if you defend Biden. I'm going to make fun of you, but that's not the problem. It's just that the people that defend Biden, they don't really have, one, they can't actually defend him, right? So if they want to engage in the argument, even for entertainment, they get stuck at the, oh yeah, well, Biden, they get stuck there, right? So, like, even if they wanted to engage, they couldn't, just factually speaking. But then they're also, like, the other one is just they get so easily triggered. You know, like, you insult Biden around these people, and they just, like, It's the same thing with fucking Trumpers, you know? What's crazy? I mean, everything you're saying and the way you're saying it, the freak, is crazy. You are the crazy member of the chat that we're keeping around for entertainment. Like, I don't need to do a show anymore. Like, you are here giving me money by posting your crazy ass shit and entertaining other people. Yeah, I love the idea of being like a fan of politicians as if it's like your favorite band or some shit. But, that's pretty much the show for today. How much for the State of the Onion shoe? Let's say 30 bucks. It doesn't have to be from one person. $30, and I'll do State of the Onion. Trump cum vials. Homeopathic Trump cum. I'm in. I'd buy that. Homeopathic Trump cum. Damn. I mean, I would buy that just for the novelty. Put it on my shelf or some shit, you know? Was the Super Bowl yesterday? I don't know. I don't pay attention to any of that shit. I guess I missed it. Retro Boomer. I love the idea that, like, because the Democrats do that too. Where Democrats are like, yeah, well, guess what? Trump fucking sucks. And it's like, oh, shit. Damn. I didn't know that. What a profound argument, you know? You ever talk to one of these? I remember when I was doing canvassing for Bernie Sanders, I get a lot of these people, you knock on their door, and they start talking about Biden, right? And then, like, you start talking, you criticize Biden a little bit. And then they're like, well, yeah, but Trump. And it's like, bro, we're talking about the Democratic primary here. Trump is not the... But, like, it's like a default. It's a defense mechanism, you know? It's like when you hit your elbow and you go like, whoop, whoop, right? Like, it's just like, oh, when you criticize Biden, but Trump. But Trump. You know, they can't, you know? It's like they can't do anything about it. Got 140 czars and $5. Holy shit. Holy fuck. Trump makes you want to get up and go to work? Dude, not only are you a freak and a dumbass, but you're also a cuck and a beta male? Trump makes you want to get up and go give him your money. Oh, great. Well, you have fun giving rich people your money and time and effort and labor and value and giving it all to rich people. You have fun with that. You enjoy it. Super Bowl is this coming Sunday? Okay. So we got $13 out of 30. So $17 more either today or tomorrow morning. And I will do a live stream for the State of the Onion. I don't know if I'll do it. Do y'all want me to do it here or on twitch.television? I'm not sure. I guess I could do it here, but I don't think the freak is being silly. I'm not sure. I mean, well, they are objectively being silly, right? But I don't know, like, the intentional thing. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the show, though. We got $2 from Tyler. Letterhack's going to start doing interviews. Can I be the first inaugurable interview? Am I allowed to get that slot, or has it already been filled? So I'll do it if I'll be the first. I'll do it if I'm the first one, because that's no brainer. It's a big opportunity. Negative Land documentary. Never heard of it. Yeah, I will absolutely do that. Yo, DeFreak is now giving me super chats. Holy shit. PPV. Tant of the... What the fuck, man? DD, congestive heart failure, 20. Alright, I guess I'm doing the State of the Onion. I concede. How much do I want for the State of the Onion? How much do I want? I want $30. So give me $30 right now. No, but nude painting interviews. Jesus. You're gonna have to spend a lot of money for that one about to sleep. A great culture jamming band. I love to jam. And I also love jam. Just kidding. I'm not a huge fan of jam. I don't like, what is jam? What is it? Just sugar and paste? Like, what is it? You have glue, Elmer's, whatever. You have glue, and you put a bunch of sugar flakes on it, and that's jam? Like, what is it? I don't know. What is jam? What is it supposed to be other than like a sugary paste? You'll send me 100 on PayPal. Holy fucking shit. Oh my god. We got memberships. You know, I gotta do another story now? You're gonna make me do a fucking another story. Y'all want another one? Yo, Saul is here. Is Saul viewing right now? No offense, Saul. Or is it just like you can pick the name or something? I had a greasy spoon. I had a greasy spoon. It's random. Fuck. So a lot of people, they're drug addicts in this country. I'm willing to say that 95% of Americans are drug addicts. And what is one of the common themes with drug addiction? Whatever drug it is. Alcohol. Yeah, brain damage. Liver damage. You know, cocaine. Brain damage. You can get brain damage, you know. So on and so forth, you know. Meth can cause some issues with your brain, right? One of the common themes with drug addicts is brain damage. Now, again, I personally consider drug addiction to be a health issue. We should not be throwing people in jail for whatever their drug of choice is. But if we define an addiction as doing something that's bad for you because it feels good in the moment, and if 95% of Americans, which we know from a statistic, a study that was done, don't eat fruits or vegetables, and what do they eat? They eat drugs. They eat drugs. And so what happens when you eat drugs? Well, I've said this multiple times on my show. It fucks your brain up. And so here we have a study that has come out, or at least this is an article about the study. Ultra-processed foods may lead to cognitive decline. Cognitive decline. I think Joe Biden's been eating one too many Mickey D's. Same thing with Donald Trump, of course. Scientists have known for years that unhealthy diets, particularly those that are high in fat and sugar, may cause detrimental changes to the brain and lead to cognitive impairment. Many factors that contribute to cognitive decline are out of a person's control, such as genetics, socioeconomic factors, but ongoing research increasingly indicates that a poor diet is a risk factor for memory impairments during normal aging and increases the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. But when evaluating how some diets may erode brain health as we age, research on the effects of consuming minimally processed versus ultra-processed foods have been scant, that is, until now. 2 recent large-scale studies suggest that eating ultra-processed foods may exacerbate age-related cognitive decline. Mush mouth. And increasing the risk of developing dementia. In contrast, another study reported that ultra-processed food consumption was not associated with worse cognition in people over age 60. So again, one of the big things with this is aging. Right? Aging. It's one thing to have fast food once or twice a month. That's going to have minimal, if any, impact. And fast food, ultra-processed food, frozen meals, whatever the meals, quote unquote. It's all the same shit. It's exactly the same because fast food is just frozen food that they cook for you. That's pretty much it, right? So it's all the same shit, really. And but if you eat it every day, it's an addiction. It's an addiction, right? And you can be addicted to a drug, and you can know all the negative effects and say, well, the positives outweigh the negatives. For example, I consider myself addicted to coffee. I'm addicted to caffeine. Right? I have to drink caffeine every day, otherwise I have a shitty mood. But I like caffeine. I like coffee. I like the ritual. I like pouring it. I like making it. I like smelling it. I like coffee. It's an addiction that I decided, you know what? Fuck it. I'm in. I'm in it for the long haul. I'll strap in. I will accept the negative health outcomes. And I'll make the best out of the positive benefits from caffeine. And we'll call it a day. Right? But how many people truly, really understand that the food that they're eating on a daily basis is drugs? Right? Do you know that? Like, do people know that? Like, people might be aware that it's unhealthy. But there's a difference between unhealthy and drugs, right? Hot Pockets are not unhealthy. It's a drug. It is made in a laboratory, right, to produce the extremely addictive outcomes in the brain, right? They put high levels of salt and sugar and fat and combine them in a certain way that creates an addiction pathway in your brain. That's what it does. It's a drug. And to top it all off, there's no nutrition in it. And what little nutrition there might be in it can't be absorbed properly because your body doesn't know how to absorb things that are put together in such a ridiculous fashion. So let's keep going, though. Lots of ingredients, minimal nutrition. Ultra-processed foods tend to be lower in nutrients and fiber and higher in sugar, fat, and salt compared to unprocessed or minimally processed foods. Some examples of ultra-processed foods include soda, packaged cookies, chips, frozen meals, flavored nuts, flavored yogurt, distilled alcoholic beverages, and fast foods. Even packaged breads, including those high in nutritious whole grains, qualify as ultra-processed in many cases because of the additives and preservatives they contain. Another way to look at it, you are not likely to find the ingredients to make up these foods in your home kitchen. I don't think most Americans would find anything in their home kitchen because most Americans don't know how to cook. But don't confuse ultra-processed foods with processed foods, which still retain most of their natural characteristics. Well, this is a problem here, is because there's multiple forms of processing, right? Processed versus ultra-processed. It's a very loose thing. I think it's good as a rule of thumb to ignore most ultra-processed foods, but not all ultra-processed foods are the same, and certainly not all processed foods are the same. But anyway, there are examples. Canned vegetables, dried pasta, frozen fruit. I would say canned vegetables and frozen fruit, they're pretty good. Dried pasta, though, I mean, it's Like, it's just not healthy for you. Like, is it uniquely damaging in the same way that cheeseburgers at McDonald's are? No, not even close. But let's be honest, regular pasta is just not good for you. Like, that's just canned vegetables and frozen food. That's actually good for you. Pasta is not. So it's a weird group of examples. In December 2022 study, researchers compared the rate of cognitive decline over approximately 8 years between groups of people that consume different amounts of ultra-processed foods. At the beginning of the study, over 10,000 participants living in Brazil reported their dietary habits from previous 12 months, then for the ensuing years. The research evaluated the cognitive performance of the participants with standard tests of memory and executive function. Those who ate a diet containing more ultra-processed foods at the start of the study showed slightly more cognitive decline compared to those that ate little to no ultra-processed foods. This was a relatively modest difference in the rate of cognitive decline between experimental groups. It is not yet clear if the small difference in cognitive decline associated with higher consumption of ultra-processed foods will have a meaningful effect at the level of an individual person. Once again, it's all about harm reduction, right? Like, if you eat... okay, like, again, let's use the alcohol comparison here. If you compare alcohol to sugar, a lot of the diseases that you get are very similar. Now, alcohol causes some diseases that sugar doesn't. Sugar causes some diseases that alcohol doesn't. But as far as two drugs that are easy to compare, they're pretty easy to compare. So let's compare them, alcohol and sugar. Right? If you have one glass of wine every month, is that actually gonna do anything to your body negatively? Like, unless you've got like some severe, like you're extremely like sensitive to it or something, right? That's probably gonna cause some damage. But you can also say that if you have not even like a glass of wine, right? If you have like one sip of wine every day of your life, one sip. Like, we're talking, like, not even like a big sip, not a glug, not like a swallow or a gulp, but we're talking like, you know, like a can here. Like, is that really going to cause negative health? Just one sip a day? Probably not, right? Because, again, ultimately, the poison is in the dose, right? So, really, what you need to understand here when it comes to drugs like sugar and alcohol is how quick does it take your body to reach like a homeostasis kind of equilibrium level in your systems, right? And when you're eating junk food every single day, your body never gets time to rest. If you eat junk food once a week, your body is resting for 6 days out of the week. And when you take that junk food in, the effects are going to be severely diminished because your body is ready. Your body's in your prime. Your body's ready to fight back against the bad parts. And you can say, you know what? It's worth it. Smoke a little weed, eat some pizza, live a little, right? That's fine. But when it becomes an everyday situation and you're doing it 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or you're eating drugs, that's a problem. And yeah, it can affect your brain. So think about it. The second study, with about 72,000 participants in the UK, measured the association between eating ultra-processed foods and dementia. For the group eating the highest amounts of ultra-processed foods, approximately 1 out of 120 people were diagnosed with dementia over a 10-year period. For the group that consumed little to no ultra-processed foods, the number was 1 out of 170. Research examining the relationship between health and ultra-processed foods uses the NOVA classification, which is a categorization system based on the type and extent of industrial food processing. Some nutritionists have criticized the NOVA classification for not having clear definitions of food processing, which could lead to misclassification. So the NOVA system essentially is like, you know, what level of processing, right? So instead of having processed and ultra-processed, right, it expands that to 4 levels, right? You have Nova level 1 is, you know, just the food itself. Nova level 2 is like you do something to it, but not, you know, you don't add any ingredients, but let's say you cut up the apple and you have an apple slice, right? Then let's say Nova level 3 is you blend up the apple. Now you got applesauce, right? Nova level 4 is, let's say you juice the apple and you add extra sugar to it, and you add some food dye and then you got yourself an ultra processed situation. So essentially the Nova classification system is just trying to have more numbers on the number line and to explain them. Now again, is it perfect? No. Obviously, you could have a Nova level 5, a Nova level 10. You could have a 10-point scale. You could have a 20-point scale. You could have not even a number line, but you could have one of those, like, triangle graphs. You can have all kinds of way of detailing food, right? So obviously the criticisms of the Nova system are it's not as granular as a perfect system would be. But again, it's better than processed versus ultra processed for sure, right? So again, just got to be... we're moving in the right direction as far as coming up with better ways to figure this stuff out, but still, obviously, our tools are not perfect. Many ultra-processed foods are high in additives, preservatives, or coloring agents, while also having other features of an unhealthy diet, such as being low in fiber and nutrients. Thus, it is unclear if eating food that has undergone more processing has an additional negative impact on health beyond low diet quality. That's the big thing here. I'm willing to say that ultra-processing does do worse for you than just eating bad ingredients overall. And really that's just in the form of, like, ultra processed foods typically are dehydrated, right? They have less water in them, so you're going to eat less water with your food. That's one example. Shelf stability, they're going to add some preservatives, anti-caking agents, and other such things and so forth. You could say it's benign, but is it better to have that kind of shit or not have it at all? It's right? You have to think about that. And if you're doing this every day, if you're eating these kinds of foods every day, it builds up, right? So let's say, let's say you have 10 points of damage that you can take, and eating ultra processed foods does like 1 point of damage every day. But like, let's say your health recovers at a rate of like full health within 36 hours. It's just, you never reach that full recovery rate. And so your health is just getting fucking, slowly chipped away. There's my video game metaphors for you. Again, eating junk food is great every once in a while. We live in America, baby. Every once in a while, eat some drugs. Let's live a little. Right, but anyway, you can read more about this. I talk about this stuff all the time, but the big thing is don't eat this shit every day. Otherwise, you're going to have dementia when you're 53 years old. So that's my little hyperbolic claim there. But again, more science and research is being done every day, and more studies are coming out that suggest, and I'll use the word suggest here, that maybe eating junk food and being a drug addict has negative health outcomes. It shouldn't be a surprise. We shouldn't need to study this stuff, but we do. And again, the default in America is to be you are born and bred and raised to become a drug addict when it comes to sugar companies, right? That's why they market soda to kids. That's why they market juice boxes to kids, because they want you to become addicted. They put corn syrup in baby food, in baby formula. There's like 3 or 4 different companies that control the entire baby formula market, and most of them put corn syrup in the baby formula so that you become addicted. I don't know what to tell you. Sounds like a conspiracy, but that doesn't mean it's not true. The writing's on the wall on this one. We're fucked. We're fucked. So I say eat as many whole foods as you can. And the default is eating junk food every day in this country. I would say most Americans, the default. Now again, most Americans I know, poor motherfuckers, okay? But poor motherfuckers, the default for us, for being poor, is to eat garbage, to spend the less amount of money as you can on food, which again, you either have to pay the farmer or pay the doctor. If you pay the doctor when you're 30, you could have been paying the farmer throughout your 20s and you wouldn't be in that situation. Spend the same amount of money, be in a way better spot, right? So, but yeah, the default is you're eating drugs all day, every day. That's the default in this country. So if you can reduce that even a little bit, let's say you have a salad, 1 meal every day, just the salad. I mean, it goes a long way, trust me. But anyway, there you go. So here's your bonus segment I did. Talk about food. That's a bonus segment. Um, but yeah, that's all I got. I mean, normally when I do this show, I have like 5 or 6 stories that I have, and I do like most of them, but that was just the other tab I had open. Basically an ad read for farmers. Fuck yeah. Except for the corn farmers. The corn farmers, we gotta burn those farms down. Burn down the corn farms. Fuck them. But every other farmer, I'm in. Soy farmers, I got my eye on the soy farmers, okay? I got my eye on you. We're not gonna burn you down yet, but the corn farmers, they gotta go. Alright? Yeah, soda in school is a big thing. Because you get, like, it's drug addiction, right? The kids could spend that money on nutritious food, but they spend it on soda instead. It's a drug addiction. A balloon popping game on Twitch? Probably not. I'm not that dedicated to the meme. But anyway, folks, I'm going to go on a walk. I highly recommend everybody go on walks every day. 30 minutes, an hour. I mean, listen to an audiobook or listen to my show if you want. How great would it be to have your morning routine be walking around the neighborhood listening to Above It All? I recommend it. But anyway, I've been trying to take a walk after my show every day. It's the first thing I do. And I'm going to go do that. So thank you all for watching. I have news. I will be doing a Twitch stream today. I have finished learning the Doom WAD that I'm going to do a speedrun of. And so I'm going to try my first attempt at it today. So if you want to watch, that would be cool. If not, whatever. Do whatever you want, bro. I don't give a shit. Fuck you. Anyway. And I guess I'll do the State of the Onion tomorrow. So great. Can't wait. I'm just gonna go and I'll see you later and bye. Is it still and now